Hello, I'm Jonathan, and welcome to the Tamworth FC Social, a podcast all about Tamworth Football Club. The 2023-24 campaign has come to an end. Is it Tamworth's best season ever? I'll be chatting through that and the other contenders with Brett and Graham. Don't forget you can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. You can click subscribe below this video and switch notifications on to be updated when we upload new episodes. Before we get into the best ever season chat, then just quickly go through the Banbury game. What a good way to end the season, a 3-0 win away from home. Is it slightly bittersweet, though, that the season has ended, given it's been such a high?
Well, I suppose what we're going to do now for the next 4 months is the question on everyone's lips, I'm sure. Oh, got the Euros to be disappointed about. But it's a real. I said this before the game, and looking at the amount of people that actually weren't there against Banbury, and the fact that the crowd was almost half against South Shields that it was against Warrington, almost kind of get the feeling in one aspect that a lot of people were glad that the season was over because it had been so tense for such a long time that people just wanted it over and done with so that we were champions and then we could just enjoy it. Because obviously it's a catch-22. You need the season to run down to win the title, but then up until that point where you're so far ahead and you want to keep ahead, and then you spend weeks going, we might win the title here, or we might win the title here, or we might win the title here. You just find that you're going game to game or week to week thinking, oh, it could be this week, it could be this week. And I feel like since we did win it, we were really, well, those last two games, we played without any ties and bonds really. And we just turned up, played very well, scored a lot of goals, played good football. So you'd kind of want that to go on for another, 10, 15 games. But then the reality is if you do that, then you haven't won the league at that point, have you? So yeah, it is a catch-22.
I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is bittersweet. I suppose, yeah, in some ways because we've been playing some good football the last couple of games, and I suppose pressure's off though, and the players can just kind of express themselves a little bit more, take the gas off, show what they're all about. I suppose a player like Beck Ray, he didn't really get much of an opportunity before these last couple of games, and he's shown what he's all about. And I suppose in some ways it would have been nice to see a little bit more of him, but then maybe that wasn't really the right time for him to come in, and he's one for the future. And yeah, it's kind of exciting to know that he'd be around next season. But I think it's been good to see players like Shakuna as well, just seem to be back in form for those last couple of games as well, and come back into the team. So yeah, I suppose it is I don't know if it is bittersweet. It's kind of like we've done what we need to do, and it's come to an end in a really positive way.
A very fitting way to end the season as well, given another clean sheet to take the club up to 25 in the league. Also a Jazz Singh penalty save. When you add that to the 3 goals, it sort of ties it all up quite nicely because Tamworth were very free-flowing with the goals earlier in the season. And I think we've just got so used to the fact that Tamworth are so solid at the back. It's just quite nice now to reflect on how well they've done in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. Jazz had that last laugh, so to speak, on Saturday, saving the penalty.
Let's move on to what we're all here to talk about then. Is this season the club's greatest ever? We have got a little short list of seasons that we've deemed worthy of discussion today, and I guess at the end of it we'll try and come to decisions on which we think is the best ever. So we'll do it in chronological order, starting with the oldest. So probably one of the more obvious choices on this list, 1988-89, the FA Vars winning season for Tamworth, but also finished third in the Southern League Midland Division, and they were a newly promoted side. Interestingly, Gloucester finished first, Atherstone finished second, and Tamworth missed out on promotion on goal difference. They finished level on points with Atherstone, who finished second and went up. And it's also, we would have talked about this a lot earlier in the season, it's the season where Dale Belford set the record that Jazz Singh beat. So in 88, 89, the record of 712 minutes without conceding a goal was set. And I suppose it just shows how good a record that was that it's taken until this season to be beaten. Thoughts, Brett? I think that FA Vars one is certainly one that always gets mentioned when you think Tamworth, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's still probably the most famous result the club's had. But to have done that well in that division the year after they went up as well is, that makes it even more of a very good season for the club. And obviously, the attendances by this point were starting to really inflate. They had, local media spotlight on them, and obviously some great records set by Dow Balford. And look how long that record stood for, until this season. So it was obviously like a really famous season for the club.
What a rivalry that must have been, the Tamworth Atherstone at that time, going toe to toe with promotion, missing out on goal difference. That must have attracted some crowds and some huge rivalry. I mean, Atherstone used to get some really decent crowds as well, similar to Tamworth levels even in the 90s. So I don't know the attendances for any of their games then, but I imagine it was one hell of a game. Just thinking location wise, how near it is and everything. It must have been a terrific time to have been a Tamworth fan. And then obviously we got that FA Vars win as well. Well, we didn't win it at Wembley, did we? We won it at Peterborough. But to go to Wembley and what a tremendous season that was. Before my time, but certainly heard a few things about it from different people over time.
I wonder if that almost gives it more of a mystique because none of us were born when this season was played. And when you read about it and watch, old news reports on YouTube and things like that, it just feels like the whole club was riding a bit of a wave at that point. And you think the club's rise really up until that point was pretty impressive. It got promoted the season before, finished then third in 88, 89. And then after that, the club didn't finish lower than 10th until they then got promoted out of that division. It just sort of shows Tamworth were a very good team at that point. And to galvanise so many people, I mean, firstly, the 26,000, just over 26,000 attendance at the Wembley game, overall fans, that is. And then the replay got just over 11,000 overall attendance. That's a huge, amount of people. And I think we've all been told tales like how many people in the town went to that game that day. It must have been a slightly empty town centre.
I think actually it's interesting you say that because as well, you'd think the population of Tamworth then would have been, well, I don't know, maybe 40, 50,000. That's a guess. But I do remember my dad telling me that he didn't go to the game. And he said that it was absolutely bare everywhere within the town, similar to what you've just said then. So it really did obviously pique the interest of everybody. I suppose a lot of the town, wanted to go and celebrate that. And you see the open top bus and stuff as well. Bits and bobs of that. It's really, really interesting to watch that. Hopefully we get something like that with the current team as well, with everybody coming out into the town and everything and celebrating it.
I don't know if either of you've seen there used to be a video on YouTube of the open top bus tour, like from the perspective of the bus going through the town. It's just quite interesting to see how the town's changed, but then B, how many people turned out.
Yeah, I think I might Google that again or YouTube it and have a look again.
In answer to your earlier point, I've just given it a Google. So in 1991, which I guess was the census year, the population was just over 70,000. So if you think ballpark figure probably wasn't that different in 89, but I mean, that's still, if you assume roughly half of that, just over 26,000 for the Wembley game, that's what, a seventh, give or take, of the town that went to watch a game of football.
It's just insane to think of that amount of people from the same place inside a football stadium at that time. And obviously, the old Wembley was something spectacular, wasn't it, at the time? For anyone who went to that, I think you probably would always struggle to top that day.
That must be the only time Tamworth have played at Wembley Stadium, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Next then on our list is the 1996-97 season. So context-wise, Tamworth are in the same division as they were in 1988-89. And in that time, they have come kind of close to promotion, I suppose. After that third place finish in 89, there was three fourth place finishes on the trot, a 10th place finish, a 7th place finish, a third place finish, a sixth place finish, and then they won the title in 96-97. This is the club record points total for a league season. They got 97 in this one. They scored 90 goals and conceded just 28. They won 30 of their 40 league games. That's a 75% win ratio. They won the title by 26 points and they lost just 3 games. I think this might take some beating on the stats front. Brett, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I mean, that's some incredible stats, isn't it? And then set us up nicely for the Doc Martens title then, really. Obviously just pushed on from that point again. But that's ridiculous, isn't it? 30 wins in the season, 30 out of 40. To win the league by 26 points. That's a whitewash. Who was runners up? Was it Stafford Rangers? No, that's
Rothwell Town.
Rothwell.
Rothwell Town.
Looking at that league table, it's sort of an interesting mix. So Rothwell Town, Ilkeston Town, Grantham Town, Bedworth United, Solihull Borough in there, Moor Green, Stafford Rangers were 9th. Graham, what do you think?
I think it's interesting the seasons before it, though. There's obviously it had been brewing in terms of what was going to happen a little bit with those kind of top 3-4 finishes. It was trying to find the right formula and find the right players. And I suppose sometimes when you get it right, they got it really right. I think they'd had the same players stuck together for a number of seasons. And obviously it kind of all fell into place. And the manager was Paul Hendry then, I believe. And I'm not sure how many seasons he'd been there before then. But obviously, it was around a number of seasons after that.
Paul Hendry joined towards the end of the 94-95 season and left in the year 2000.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah. I actually do remember when he left, actually, weirdly. Quite a few of those players that were in that 96-97 season were then still there when I started really watching them, which was sort of the 97 to 98 season. I mean, the stats just unbelievable, as I say. Ridiculous season. I mean, that must have been another incredible one to be a part of. And were Atherstone in the same league then still? Were they might have been in Southern Premier then, actually. They might have been, they might have been in the league above. So when Tamworth went up, there was definitely the rivalry was there again.
Atherstone finished 11th in the Southern League Premier. Yeah, you're right.
How are you finding those stats so quickly, by the way? Yeah, incredible season. And just concede that little goals as well. They did. I mean, and to score that many, 90 goals, that's incredible. Incredible.
Something as well I didn't mention introducing this season, Tamworth were also runners-up in the Birmingham Senior Cup that season. Care to wager a guess on who they lost to in the final?
Blues?
I would say you would consider this team one of the club's main rivals of the last sort of 15, 20 years.
Nuneaton. Burton Albion.
Burton Albion, yeah.
Really?
They beat Tamworth 3-1 after extra time, according to my source.
Wow. What league they were in then?
Burton Albion that season finished 6th in the Southern League Premier. I think I'm right in saying by winning the league in 96-97, that would have put Tamworth on their highest footing in terms of the English pyramid, right? I don't think they would have been.
So.
That would have been 6th tier, wouldn't it? I think that's right.
Yeah. So they'd have been the equivalent of where they're at now, where they were, shall we say? So yeah, that was some progress from where they were in the early 1980s when they obviously nearly went out of business. So to think about that sort of over the course of 10 years, 10 or so years, shall we say, probably, then that's pretty good going, really.
Moving on to our next season of discussion. So 2002, 2003, Tamworth won the Southern League Premier. Tamworth won the title by 13 points. And that promotion then put them into English football's fifth tier for the first time, the conference, as it was known at that point. Another significant one, putting Tamworth into uncharted territory in the highest division they'd been in at that point. FA Trophy finalists, of course, lost to Burscough at Villa Park. Only conceded 32 goals in the league, which not dissimilar to this season's 29 conceded in the league. I think, Graham, you went to that FA Trophy final. Am I right?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did go to the FA Trophy final. It was a disappointing day, unfortunately. Tamworth were heavy favourites to win that game. And I think they'd have been, if they'd have done it at that time, they'd have been the first team to win the double. I think out of all the leagues, maybe I think at least one team has done it now. At least. I think York City might have done it. I don't know, just in the conference. But yeah, at that time we were on to the double, and we were heavy favourites to win that game. We weren't expected to lose it at all. We'd won the league very, very well after the season before, where we'd narrowly missed out on the last day. And the FA Trophy run was an incredible one. I remember it really, really well. I remember us beating Accrington Stanley, we were top of the Unibond League at that point. Yeah, and we beat some pretty established conference clubs at the time, Stevenage, Margate. I always remember the FA Trophy run more than the league season, weirdly, because it was kind of like we just won that at Cantor really more than anything. But the FA Trophy run was, I suppose, a bit like the Vars. It was, it was something really big. It was at Villa Park.
You look at that season, obviously the year before, bitterly disappointment against Folkestone on the last day. Went at it again the following season and had a great year. Stafford was second. That was the year that we beat Stafford to the title. Some big clubs in that division. We made sure we got the job done and then some that year after the heartbreak from the year before.
We had a good team then, though. Some really good players there.
That's the year that you speak to people who've been going to the football regularly, like yourself, Graham. And they regard that really as like the golden years. There's plenty of fans through the doors. You're touching close to 2,000 on the gate at the time. You got some really good away days, a really good feeling throughout throughout the whole club. You talk back to people about the old fanzine and everything, really.
And even just looking at the teams in that division, it's to think that Tamworth were finishing ahead of some of these sides, like Crawley Town, for instance, Newport County, Moor Green even. These are teams that have, one way or another are playing at a higher level than Tamworth now.
I think the one to me that always stands out is the Accrington Stanley one, because they were top of the Northern League. That they had John Coleman in charge then. And I remember the Tamworth fans giving him so much stick in the shed. Vividly remember, and we absolutely obliterated and we beat him 4-1. It just always stands out to me that they've gone on to go up to the conference and then they've been in the Football League now for a number of years. And I think they were a Football League side a long time ago, but still, it's just sort of almost slightly pains me that we did that, and then you watch them go on to where they are, but is what it is.
Same as Burton Albion, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but in some ways, and I'll probably get absolutely obliterated for this. I think it's something to aspire to, at least the way that they've gone about it and how they've got there, because they basically got there being part-time.
Moving on, 2004, 2005, club's highest ever league finish was achieved in this season of 15th. That was in the conference. Also got to the first round of the FA Cup, where they lost at Blackpool 3-0. Brett, I think you would have been regularly going at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually really remember the Mark Cooper free kick in the full qualifying round against Burscough. It was such a good goal. Lost to Burscough a number of years ago before in the trophy. And then there they are, the Lamb in the fourth qualifying round, and Mark Cooper scores an absolute screamer. And then we go on to play Blackpool I remember watching the highlights on Match of the Day or whatever it is when they did the Match of the Day special for the FA Cups. I remember thinking how weird it was seeing Tamworth on the telly.
I went to that Blackpool game, so I remember that quite well. On the ground there, it was the one side was all open, and I think we were in there, and it was absolutely freezing. But yeah, I mean, I remember Tamworth being quite well beaten that day, unfortunately. It's hard for me to remember that season that well, but when Brett just mentioned about the Burstow game, then did ring a bell. So I remember it was getting revenge really for what had happened a few years before. I'm just trying to think of who the players were that season.
It was Cooper, Chris Whitman,
Yeah,
Bob Taylor.
yeah. Was this the season that we beat Barnet 3-0?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it now. Yeah.
The year when we beat Forest Green, I think that was our first win of the season, not 5-0.
Yeah. We were in the top half of the table for a good part of the season, weren't we? A good part of the first part of the season.
I remember we had a couple of really good back-to-back wins. I think we beat Palsall Villa by a massive scoreline. Then beat Forest Green Rovers 5-0. And I think we had there was a weird other cup in there. I think it's called the GLS Cup. I think we played Worcester. I think we beat them quite comprehensively as well. There was some real heavy defeats in that year as well.
Was it the year that we got the points deduction? I think it was because that was the turning point. I remember
fielding an eligible player in who was the eligible player? Jamie Francis.
Was it Jamie Francis? Yeah.
Just out of interest, would you then or now cherish this season more because it was the highest ever finish, or would you cherish like a trophy winning season?
I think for me, 2004, 2005 and 2006 seasons, although they weren't on paper massively the most successful, they were some of my most favourites because I was I was a kid. I was going down the football with my mates. I was really enjoying it. I was getting to go every week. I was just getting to go and have a laugh with my mates, enjoy the football. I was learning about this local team that was obviously representing me and where I was from. Loads of passion in the stands, loads of other people, obviously my sort of age going as well. And it was something different. Obviously, they were regularly on Sky Sports on Gillette Soccer Saturday. The results would come through, and you'd be able to follow it that way. And for me, it was all just such a brand new thing. It was something that I could really identify with, and for me, that was not only really what really got me massively into the club, but much more into football as well, because it can really define you as a person as well, or you as an area that you're from, or a family, or anything. And obviously, the friendships that you build on from that. I've met one of my best friends from this kind of period of time. You don't need massive success and cup runs and all the rest of it to have like a year that really, really stands out. It's going there, giving it a go, and it's what that does as a feeling and an emotion inside you. And I think that when you do get special seasons, it makes you remember those times.
Next season on our list is 2008-2009. This is the season Tamworth won the Conference North and returned to English football's fifth tier. So Tamworth won the league with 85 points. They were 5 points clear of Gateshead, who finished second and got promoted as well. 70 goals scored, 41 conceded. Where does this rank for you, Graham, in the seasons we've talked about?
It probably doesn't rank as highly because for me, the expectation levels have gone up. Because we had been up and then we come back, we've been there for a number of seasons and come back down again. So, there was kind of a bit of a lull period in terms of we came down and we had a bit of a disappointing season. First season where we finished sort of, mid-table and we'd spent a lot of money. We had a lot of big name-ish players, and I believe we was still full-time or at least hybrid. In terms of the actual season, it's obviously fairly tight, but we got the job done. And that was probably all that mattered at the time. But, I would say that with a little bit more of an expectation for us we were one of the big boys in the league to that were expected to go and do that and get back up again because we'd only just really been there. So it wasn't. I suppose it wasn't as impressive for me as like I suppose some of the other seasons. And if you compared it to say this season, it's very much chalk and cheese. We were never expected to do what we've done this season. So yeah, obviously it was still great because we got the club back in the conference again, and we were in there for a very good number of seasons afterwards. Getting for 5 years again, and 5 seasons, which is brilliant, and it showed that we were an established club in the top tier of non-league, really.
What do you think, Brett? Is this season as highly regarded for you as some of the others?
I've just got real random memories of this. I remember after we won the league on the Tuesday, being in the clubhouse till like midnight and having school the following day. It was a very different season to the year before because obviously the year before we'd spent quite a bit of money. We were adamant we were going up. We were, as a fan base, pretty cocky as well. I remember beating Burscough the year before, 4-2 for the 75th anniversary, let off all those red balloons. I think we were 4-0 up at half time. Concede two, don't think anything. Get to Redditch on the Tuesday night, lose 3-0, thinking, this is a bit odd. Moaning to high hell about why we're losing to teams like Redditch. I remember that year before going all the way up to Workington and being 5-0 down after 35 minutes. And then you just think, this season needs to end now. And that was after we'd spent a load of money. And then the season had finished and we said, we're not doing that, we're going to build. And then unexpectedly, but nothing like what it is now, played well. We got a winning formation. We got a bit of belief and a bit of confidence. Didn't play very attractive football either. People were moaning about us playing 4-5-1 at home and it was very flat. And then obviously we did go up, but I feel like we went up, which was a positive. And I think we had probably one decent season in the conference, and then the rest of it then should just be forgotten about.
The final season on our list then is the 23-24 season. It is obviously back-to-back promotions, puts Tamworth back in the 5th tier after a decade away. Just 29 goals conceded, 25 league clean sheets, the record of over 900 minutes without a goal being conceded, second highest ever points total for a league season with 96. Beat several full-time teams along the way. And obviously you can't measure this in numbers necessarily, but I would say one of the sort of best, feelings of excitement, optimism, call it what you will, for many years, I would suggest.
Yeah, this will be a season that people will talk about this just as much as they speak about the Doc Martens year, because it's a new generation now. I think the Doc Martens win was obviously like our generation. And now fast forward another generation and you've got this title win, where for the next 10 years, they will compare everything to this. Remember that year when there was 3,000 here at the Down the Lamb against Warrington? I was there that day when we won that. Where were you against us when we played or whatever? That's the next cycle now. It's all going to come back to this one. I mean, obviously we can enjoy it for what it is. Anyone who was there can enjoy it for what it is. But I think this will be the one that will set a new generation of fans. And that's really important. From the results, the performance, the records, the media coverage, people are looking again. People have come down. I think where we've done ourselves a little bit of injustice at times and when we've not gone for it and during some of these really big gates, like Chester at home when we didn't really go for it. And then obviously other games where people's heads are starting to turn, and then Curzon Ashton obviously played very, very badly as well. Didn't lose either of those games. So on the paper for us, they're great results and good games, but that ain't going to get people coming back through the gates. I think that's partly the reason why after Warrington, the gates was so far down again for the South Shields game. But something really special.
Yeah, I think Brett raised a really good point. It's raising that interest level again. It's got people in the local community and the town interested in the football club again. Probably this season has. It was great to get back to where we had been this season from last season, but to get that kind of interest again and that sort of momentum, or the momentum we've built to get that interest has really come from this season. and it's great to see, to be honest. And I think in this age now, where you can get the exposure, and non-league in general is getting more and more exposure through all the social media channels, through the internet, everything. Most clubs at this level have, YouTube channels, they have the socials, they have all of those things. We can take advantage of that as well. But fundamentally, the credit and it has to go to Andy Peakes and what he's brought to the club over the past couple of seasons, and then to take it into this season. And when you were reading off the stats then, and we talked about beating some of the full-time clubs and the resources that these clubs have available now. When we were in this league, when we won it back in 2002, 2003, and when we won it in 2008, 2009, the resources that the clubs had then compared to what they have now, we were against. It's a different gravy. Competing with Scunthorpe, Chester, Hereford, all of these ex-league clubs. Then you've got clubs like Brackley, really well established, and they've got money behind them. Even, Kings Lynn's, even though Kings Lynn have had a terrible season, full-time. South Shields, up-and-coming club, full-time, good infrastructure around them. And I'm not saying we don't have a good infrastructure, but we are a part-time club. We train twice a week. We don't have huge pots of money, but we have enough and we've spent it wisely. And I think there's just all round that to do what we've done. When you put all those factors together, I think it's a really incredible season. And sometimes can't quite believe that we have done what we've done.
Let's not forget 2 years ago we were going places like Biggleswade, St Ives, St Notts, and losing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You can look back on the league table in 10, 20, 30 years' time, and you would still recognise how much of an achievement this is.
And we won it, and we won it with hard work and determination, but we won it at a canter, really. We've been miles ahead for a long time. We've won games at a canter, beating teams like Hereford 4-0. That's just brilliant. It's fantastic. Darlington 4-0. Those early kind of wins early on the season, and then going to Scunthorpe on their patch, beating them, pushing their goalkeeper around, taking the mick. Really, it's quite amusing, but also it's brilliant. We've really, yeah, it's really good.
It is time. I would like both of you to make your decision out of those seasons we've discussed. I'd like to get you to pick one as your choice for the club's best ever season. So we've got 88, 89, 96, 97, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2008, 2009, and 2023, 24.
So I'm going to go for 23-24. The fact that we've done it twice in a row this time. We used last season to build on this. We kept the nucleus of the team together, captured the imagination of the town, the new generation, when it's really hard to do things like that. Villa are having a good season this season. Wolves, the Albion, they ain't particularly bad either. I think to have managed to attract the kind of gates that we have, the results have spoke for themselves. That's what's drew people down, because it's really been those results and those performances that have put people through the gate. So for that alone, and second highest amount of points, records broken by Jazz Singh and the defence in front of him. I've never seen the Lamb that full for a league game, and if nothing else, got me really interested again. And for a number of years, I've spent quite a few years being quite disillusioned.
Graham?
Yeah, just debating this over in my head. I'm going to go for this season as well. I think very similar to the reasons Brett said. I think the double promotion is huge. We've obviously never done it. We weren't expected to come up and then go up again. And I think for a lot of the reasons I've said before, it's who we've been competing with this season. It's a different dynamic to where it was when we were last in there, with the amount of full-time clubs, hybrids, everything like that. The challenge for this season was was different, and to get promoted twice in a row is yeah, 2 seasons of ultimately brilliant success has just brought the fans back in, and to have crowds such as the Warrington game and that success with with basically 3,000 people in there, which is highest attendance in years and years and years. There's just so much that's just been right about it for the last 2 years. So I think that's why this season has to be the one that you would go for, because really you could put the last 2 seasons into one, and that's what makes it, why I think it's probably the best one, because it's just been non-stop goodness really. And the winning ratio that Andy Peaks has got since he's come in has been brilliant. We were headed in the wrong direction to go down from the Southern League Central to be back in the National League within 2 seasons. That's the headline for you right there.
I'm slightly surprised, and only slightly surprised, that neither of you have gone for maybe 0203 or 0405, just for the nostalgia.
Yeah, the 0203 season, that's a second for me. If we'd have won the FA Trophy final as well, and that's something, but this is 2 league promotions. It's to do that twice in a row is pretty incredible.
It is time to go through the results of our predictions mini league for this season. Going into Tamworth's final game at Banbury, both Brett and Graham were able to win the predictions league. Graham, you went into that game on 23 points. Brett, you were on 21. And a reminder, it's 1 point for a correct result and 3 for a correct scoreline. So that tells you how close it was. For the Banbury result, Brett, you said it would be 2-0. Graham, you said it would be 3-0. It has sealed the title. You've ended the season with a correct scoreline as well, meaning you finish on 26 points. Brett, you finish on 22. We will do a trophy presentation of some kind. I don't want to give too much away, but hopefully by next week's episode, I'll be able to present you with something of a trophy. Congratulations, Graham. You are the reigning champion for the next year. I might join in with this next season to make it a bit more interesting.
I think you should. It should just be a 2-horse race. Should be free. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
We will leave it there for this episode of the Tamworth FC Social podcast. Thank you for listening, and thank you for following us this season. You can follow us on social media at TFC Social Pod. And even though the Lambs season has finished, we will continue to bring you episodes each week over the summer. To make sure you're notified of all new episodes, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel with your notifications on. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please do give it a like. Until next time, goodbye.